What's up, everybody? It's about that time for another edition of the Crew Radio Show. I'm Kevin Swan, co-host of the show, and the crew are professional people who are also friends that come together to talk about the things you want us to talk about. We talk about it all, and we don't hold back. So come on and join us for another edition of the Crew Radio Show. Welcome to the Crew here on WHOV 88.1 FM. Here on our social media outlets, it's the Barbershop Crew again. All jokes aside, though, we got to give some serious news tonight. We want you to lift up Alvian. Alvian's mom, we're sorry to inform you, did transition. And so she asked us to let the listening audience know where she is and to ask for prayers and support for her family. So, Alvian, if you're listening or watching, we certainly love you. We're praying for you and your family. And we're praying God's strength over your life. Also praying for Delegate Price. Also, she's up in Richmond still fighting a good fight in session. And so it's just us again, the men, the barbershop, the boys. And Jason, we got to stop, man, because, you know, your team won the Super Bowl, man.
You see I got a cup. I don't never bring cups out.
I see.
You see, and I got my keys. Got my lanyard. We got all this stuff.
But why are you a Cowboy fan? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
So, at one point, I thought you was a Steelers fan.
Okay, first of all, that's not true. That's not true.
You was a Dallas Cowboy fan for like 10, 20 years.
Every time.
And then you come out here with some Eagles stuff.
This is what you do. I rebuke the devil right now.
Rebuke him.
This is what you do, because we had this conversation off
When
air.
did you change to
We also
Eagle
had
fan?
a conversation on air one time. We were in the studio.
I do remember
You
that.
asked me why. About 10, almost 12 years ago, when the Kaepernick stuff went down, Mr. Jones, our owner for the Cowboys, made some disparaging comments.
Why you call him Mister?
Because this is a show, and I want to show a little reverence and not be, because there's other words I want to use, but I don't want to. I don't feel like bleeping. I just want to go ahead and rock the show. But he said some racially charged comments that I felt were disparaging to my people. So I'm like, I'm good with that.
You cut them loose.
I cut him loose.
So the hood translation is that redneck Jerry Jones said something.
He said something.
Ticked me off.
And
that's the hood version.
That's the hood version.
That's the hood
and
version.
I knew I couldn't go. I didn't want to go outside to the AFC, and I didn't really want to go. I couldn't be a Commanders fan. I didn't want to do it. And I met my beautiful wife, and she was an Eagles fan. I did some research, and their organization.
He did some research.
They do. Look in front of you. Y'all see some research here.
Who does research on a team before they choose a team?
I'm trying to understand
A
this.
choosing of a team is normally an emotional attachment.
Right.
But your
He
emotions
did
lie.
an intellectual.
Yeah.
No, his wife told him.
Okay.
No. My wife suggested it.
Oh, she strongly suggested it.
It wasn't even strong. She said, I'm an Eagles fan. So I did some research, and the owner and the leadership of the team, they're heavily involved in the African American and people of color community.
They were acceptable.
Huh?
They were acceptable.
They were acceptable.
Okay.
And then they got a black quarterback.
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, I was rooting for y'all.
Appreciate it.
So I like the fact that Jalen won that Super Bowl.
Me too.
Can I tell you? Because I'm sick of the Kelsey Taylor show. I'm sick of that show. Can I just tell you? It's football. It's not your reality show. And the fact that everybody or so many people were putting so much emphasis on them versus the game itself. I just said I want Jalen.
But it wasn't their fault,
And
though.
then Jalen also is a Christian.
Yeah.
And I like that about him because he does not mind telling you whose God is.
Have you seen the comment he talked about? Because he also has an all-female team that surrounds him. And one of the reasons why he say he has a whole female and black females team that's around him is because that he says they can see things that he can't see and through the lens that he can't see through. So he has a well-rounded, and he's also engaged to a sister.
Yeah,
that surprised me when I saw that.
Bree Burrows.
I'm not surprised.
No. Once you know him, no. But like initially,
He sounds like a stand-up guy. The things I've heard him say, he sounds like he got his head on straight.
He does. I'm very proud of him. Congratulations to the Eagles. Congratulations, sir.
God bless you.
But I need y'all to put in the chat, Cowboy fans. Do y'all accept this transfer of fandom?
Let me tell you something
This
about Cowboys
man
fans.
grew up a Cowboy fan. Now I'm trying to understand.
Poop the Cowboys.
Put it in the
You said
chat.
who are they?
Poop the Cowboys.
Oh, you said
P-O-O-P.
Oh,
yeah, poop the
I
Cowboys.
want to know if the
He
Eagles
went
accept you. I mean, that's y'all enemies.
Hey, here's the thing. It does. My wife accepts me. That's all I care about.
The Lord accepts you. That's all I know.
Okay,
Who are we to say?
Who are you to judge?
Yeah,
What you
who
say?
the judge?
What do we say? But there are
all
rules
right.
in the fandom, man. That's like me going to the Cowboys from the Steelers.
No,
That don't happen.
No, I mean, hey, listen. At the end of the day, They ain't sending me no check.
No, they not.
They ain't give me nothing.
But I'm
they
glad-
won Super Bowl. I ain't get nothing.
Yeah, but I'm glad you got it. But we're not here to talk about the Super Bowl.
No.
We actually here to talk about the halftime of the Super Bowl.
They not like us. They not like
which
us.
has generated a lot of reaction. Let me just say that on both sides,
On both sides.
positive and negative. And for those of you who don't know,
I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I'm going to take the negative side. Can I just go ahead and let
All
you
right.
know that?
All right.
All right.
Before we even get
Because I'm
started.
feeling a certain kind of way about that.
Okay.
All right.
I might go behind the camera again.
So for those who don't know, halftime show is always a big deal for the Super Bowl.
Always.
And again, this year the Super Bowl broke viewership records.
Mm-hmm.
Most watched telecast over 126.
It was a good game, though.
It was a blowout. It wasn't no good game.
It was a good game because the team that I like was winning.
Yeah, but it won't. But most
If the
people,
team that I didn't like was winning, then it wouldn't be a good game.
yeah. I mean, right. I mean, everybody pretty much knew by halftime the game was going to be
They
over.
beat the
did.
bricks off of
They
them.
did.
They just beat them like they stole something from them.
So the halftime show was by Kendrick Lamar, right? Which I would tell you that before the halftime show, I didn't know much about Kendrick. I had heard of him. I didn't know much about him, nor his music. How about? Did you know anything?
I knew about him only because of the beef. Well, I knew about him before then, but I didn't listen to his music and didn't quite like his music, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
And then with the beef, I thought, okay, you're a grown man, grow up.
Right,
Can y'all just grow up?
right.
Stop dissing each other. Just grow up.
And the beef that he's talking about is with another rapper named Drake, very famous, well-known rapper. So they got this long-standing beef. Jason, you're going to explain that to us at some point, not right now. But for those who don't know Kendrick Lamar, man, why don't you give a little background, if you can, Jason, into who he is?
Now, I'll be honest. I really don't care for Kendrick Lamar. My daughter and my nephews had to kind of school me on who he is. They say he's an amazing lyricist. He has done some things in the rap game that many have not done in a very long time. Some people like him to Tupac, the way he talks about community issues, and he speaks sometimes the language is very explicit. So if you have kids, don't let them listen to it. But it's real life stuff, and he draws you in with his imagery. He draws you in with his creativity, and how he is able to, like, at the whim, just drop a bar. Like, I mean, in this, when we sit down and listen to it, like, it's very few that can do what he does without any preamp. Like, he was on I forget the radio show, but they just said they gave him a thought, and I was watching YouTube live version of it, and he was just going and just going and going. So he is a phenom of our time. I just particularly don't care for him.
Yeah, so at least it sounds like he has a consciousness to his rap.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
It's not
100%.
just he ain't just out here talking about women and degrading women. And,
Now sometimes he drop a couple of those B words and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but
that's not the main part.
No,
of who-
he's much more conscious.
And so that for me was what I was surprised about. I don't know how y'all feel about it. Normally, the halftime guest is somebody who is much more well known, much more mainstream.
Yeah,
You know, somebody that plays to everybody.
because they wanted Lil Wayne to do it
Right.
because they were in Louisiana.
Yeah. And so even in that, right? I mean, hip hop is a great genre, but is hip hop a mainstream?
No.
It's still not. Yeah. So you think about like last year,
I don't even listen to it.
right? So you're
And
looking,
I'm black.
right?
Okay?
I mean,
And for someone who said I ain't your mama, okay? All right? So that lets you know right there. All
yeah.
right.
I mean, yeah. I mean, listen. I used to listen. I don't listen to it as much now because you know the whole
different.
It's different. And again, it's a lot of degrading and negative. But you know, but anyway. So that was what surprised me. The fact that they're putting somebody up that in a genre that's not well known, even though he's well known, but in the genre, not well known necessarily across the board. So would older folk catch on? With folks who don't know him be able to understand the lyrics and all that kind of stuff?
And, you know, DT was at the game, so he was rolling around.
Oh yeah.
Well,
He was done.
He left.
I'm
he
sure
left
he
before the show. We may have an executive order sometime this week.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
So let's talk about it. All right. So halftime show comes around, and you know it's the opening scene, and he's standing on the car, and you got Samuel Jackson.
He did.
That is in costume like Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam. That in itself was dope to me once you caught it.
So now he goes through the whole thing, and there's a lot of imagery that really people had to dissect and study. If you were watching it in real time, I doubt very seriously if you got all of the meaning and imagery.
Oh, you could just go back on YouTube.
Yeah, you had to go back and check it out.
Yeah.
So Jay, as you're watching it, man, what's going through your mind when you watch it?
All right, I'll be the first one. I'll be very honest. When I first watched it, halfway through, like about 7 minutes in, I thought it was one of the worst halftime shows I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't understand what he was saying. The audio quality for me was kind of subpar. And again, I'm not a Kendrick Lamar fan. I didn't really lean in until they kept going back and forth with the hook of "They Not Like Us." I'm like, I want to see if he's really going to do this beef with Drake on the Super Bowl stage. But there was a part that really got me when the camera came back to Kendrick and he was in the middle of the red, white, and blue. And when they stood up and then you saw the divide, that's when I knew, when I started putting together with Samuel L. Jackson, I'm like, when he said, "Don't be too ghetto," and I saw that divide, I'm like, this is a little more deeper than just a performance. This is a protest. This is him exercising his First Amendment right, and it caused me to lean in a little bit more. I had to go back and watch it again to understand some things, but initially, I hated it. But when I saw that, I said he's speaking more to what we're going through right now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Tom, how about you, man? Did you watch it, by the way?
I cleaned up my kitchen.
So you watched the game and then
So
went
I
in the kitchen?
watched the game, and then when he came on, because I'm not a fan, I started cleaning up my because I had a spread.
Yeah, I'm sure
so,
you did.
I ain't gonna get into that, but I had a spread. So
It was amazing too. one day we're gonna come to the barbershop.
One day we'll be
and
blessed
we're gonna talk
enough.
about that.
We're gonna have a spread on the table.
Ton is amazing.
So I had a spread. So, I cleaned up my kitchen because I like my kitchen to be clean. So I cleaned up my kitchen. And then by the time I finished, the halftime show was over. Now, I did, go back to see certain aspects of it. And I tell you, the real, true reason for me doing that is because I knew he was going to do Not Like Us. And I'm like, that's the biggest stage in the world. That's not time for your pettiness. That's time for you to shine. No, come on. That's not time for... Here's the thing. When you got the biggest stage, that's your time to show them who you are, your identity. Mm-hmm. For those who are haters, you can pull them in. For those who are fans, you can entertain them, educate them, whatever, inspire them, whatever you choose to do. But that's not the time to create the controversy where you're belittling another person and calling them, outside of saying the word pedophile. Everybody knows that song speaks to his accusation that Drake is a pedophile. So you're bringing up even more mess and drama. And I'm like, just show them who you are. You ain't got to dog somebody else to come on up. Just come on up.
Yeah. So I think, like most people, I will put, let me say, in our age, I think we were at a Super Bowl party and my kids and all of the younger people, they were full lockstep, knew all the lyrics to the song.
My kids too.
So they enjoyed it, right? Mm-hmm. I, like y'all, I hadn't heard much of his stuff before, and I'm listening, and so I'm more watching than anything else. I think what struck me was Samuel Jackson at the beginning, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, wait a minute, wait a minute, we got Samuel Jackson in here, right?
Yeah, I saw that,
right? And then all of a sudden, in midway through, you got Serena Crip walking down here.
Crip,
you know what I'm saying? Like, hold on, wait a minute,
Crip walking.
And so So I did go back and I looked at it again. And
Don't forget SZA.
Yeah, SZA was in there.
AKA Sizzler. That's what I call him.
I mean, and then some of the other commentaries that came out on social media that kind of helped to explain, and then it all began to make sense. And so it ended up being much bigger than Drake. Now, for those who are not into the culture of hip hop, Jay, can you kind of explain the beef between, like, what's the deal between Kendrick and Drake?
So I'll give you the Cliff Note version of it. Drake started the beef with a song with a diss track. A lot of people liken it to Ether with Nas, and I forget who he was beefing with at the time. And Drake came out with that. So Kendrick immediately came out with something underground to diss Drake again.
So Drake dissed Kendrick directly was the first shot?
Yeah. He dissed him directly.
With any reason? Like it
was more so it It wasn't like Biggie and Tupac where you had the East Coast West Coast rivalry type thing. It was it really is. It has not been well defined what the beef started as.
Right.
It was just more so that Drake dropped it, and then Lamar was like, "Oh, so we doing that."
Well, here's the thing. Everybody know Drake can be petty.
Yeah.
Right.
Drake can be very petty. So this is not his first beef with somebody.
Okay.
He can be very petty. So the fact that he started it doesn't shock me. And it's kind of ironic that he get the beat down like he's getting, because he took a beat down with Not Like Us, or across social media and so forth. So it you kind of got what you deserve because you did it. But still, I still have problems with what Kendrick Lamar did at Super Bowl.
But why though? Like, explain that. Why?
Because that's a big stage.
But
I'm not going to use that stage to diss my competition when I could just show you who I am. He's very talented, as you've already said. He's extremely talented. Use that stage to showcase just your talent. So then when people are talking about the stage, they're talking about your talent. They're talking about your creativity. They're talking about your ability to spit out lyrics versus they're talking about this, which is your beef with some person who wasn't even there. So you giving part of the limelight to someone who's not even there. Because don't think that his fans doesn't have his back on social media. So I mean, it's just, I thought it was a wash.
Well, let me go back and clarify something. So basically, in 2013, 12-ish, Drake and Lamar were on tour together, and it says that Lamar dissed Drake on Big Sean's Control, but he said it was just a friendly competition. Drake came back on an album with J. Cole, and he dissed Lamar, but he came back and apologized. You know, it's kind of like that petty, you know, I did something, but I ain't really mean it. Then the second person say I did it, but I ain't really. So it kind of continued to escalate. And then you get to, you know, Drake diss Drake again. I mean, Lamar dissed Drake again in Euphoria. And then later, Drake dissed Lamar again on another thing, accusing Lamar of domestic abuse. And once he did that, that's one thing kind of shifted, and now we get into the pedo world and the A minor, all that kind of stuff. It was Drake that went kind of low with the domestic violence accusation in his rap first.
Was it accurate?
I can neither confirm nor deny it.
He sound like a politician.
He sure do, don't he?
Yeah, he said that
Because-
quick. He said that quick. His name was Bill Clinton for a second.
Because here's the thing, your boy like to sue people. Now I don't have enough money for him to come after me. So allegedly,
Who, Kendra?
no, Drake.
Drake like to sue people.
Drake will sue you. So I can neither confirm or deny.
Okay, so this has been going back and forth almost 10 plus years.
Yeah, over about
basically.
12 years. Yeah.
Which again,
Petty.
yeah,
Grown people.
but I will say maybe it's going as long because it's profitable. And
No, it has been profitable because Not Like Us
of course,
was breaking the bank.
But even
course.
before that, when you got that, I think Drake did. Drake did 7 Minute. It was another diss track that he dissed Lamar in. And like when I tell you this is reminiscent to our day in the closet with R. Kelly. Oh, I can't really say that, but
You can't say his
but how
name.
people were
He in
engulfed into
prison.
that. Like that's like my daughter and her generation when this whole like this thing went on, like they were in it. They would listen to it. I'm like, this is stupid. But then when Lamar started dissing Drake, it was like I'm like, yo, well, I'm not gonna do no more diss track. I'm gonna find you and punch in your face because some of that stuff was kind of embarrassing.
He called him a pedophile.
well, again, you ain't doing something for 12 years if you're not making money off it. So,
Correct.
And if everybody's listening. So, now having said all that, let's kind of get into the halftime show because, again, there was a lot of symbolism in the show that maybe people didn't catch. And I do think that it's human nature, y'all. And I said this somewhere else. It's human nature that if you go into something, Ton, and you have an expectation of it and it doesn't meet your expectation, you're going to automatically say it's the worst ever.
You are.
Right? Most people look at the halftime show as entertainment.
Correct.
Kendrick didn't necessarily, he did some form of entertainment,
If you want to call it that.
but I think he was making more statements
He made statements.
than entertainment.
He made political statements. He made cultural statements. He made social statements.
And for people who choose not to want to go deeper into understanding the meaning of the statements, then they'll be like Jason, like you said at the beginning, the first 7 minutes, you thought it was the worst show ever. And you got a lot of people who just feel that way because here's this black kid out here, he rapping, I don't understand what he's saying. I don't understand all these black people out here doing all this stuff.
And people were already mad because y'all left this piece out about the national anthem. First, the black national anthem being sung.
Yeah.
People were mad about that. Then they were mad that John Baptiste sung the national anthem. And I'm sorry, at the end, he kind of messed it up real bad.
First of all, let's move on. That's not what we're talking about. Let's move on.
I'm sorry, he killed that song. He murdered that song.
Did he mess up? Though?
Yes, because he did. He's still holding that note right there because he's still holding the note. He held that note forever and a day. And did you know that people bet on how long
they bet on everything?
They
man.
bet on how long someone is going to sing the national anthem, and if it's under 2 minutes, it's whether it's going to be under 2 minutes or over 2 minutes. And they bet on it, and because he held that note. He went over, and people were mad. My stomach hurt. That he went over because he held that note.
That's how people do, man.
That's how he held that note like Pally Bill. He held that note.
You see how they do the musicians? They find some kind of way to make fun of the musicians. I won't stand for it.
All right.
But that's what was going. That's the context.
Gotcha.
So you got all that going on. It was like. Okay, so I had some people over my house, and they were like, this is the blackest Super Bowl ever, because they had the commercials, they had the black national anthem, they had John Baptiste singing the national anthem.
I mean, but think about where you were. You were in New Orleans.
I understand. And then they turned around, and we were like, this ain't a halftime show yet. And then here you go with Kendrick Lamar, and he's making statements. He's not, I mean, I guess he's performing, but he's making statements.
Well, he is making statements, but whether or not people are accepting the statements and receiving it, and just, again, as I said earlier, I think a large number of people were turned off because people are expecting to be entertained.
They are.
They're not expecting to see statements.
Correct.
Right? And so, but again, we're encouraging you, if you didn't watch it or you did watch it again after we go through this. You'll start to see some things that maybe you didn't catch before, and it'll start making sense. So I just want to touch on some of the symbolic elements that he included in his halftime show. First was the American flag formation, and you talked about that. There was a part in it where, and again, this is all black men forming the flag, right? Red, white, and blue. But the flag was divided because he was in the middle, and that symbolized to us
a divided nation.
A divided nation. Mm-hmm. And not only that, it was red, white, and blue, but the flag didn't have any stars in it.
Mm-hmm. But if you go back early, even before they made the divide, they would do making gestures like beating on each other's back, and that to me symbolized how America was built on the backs of slaves and stuff like that. That
oftentimes get neglected. Mm-hmm. But again, still needs to be mentioned. And so how do you feel? I mean, again, statement in the Super Bowl, nation divided. Do you think that was an appropriate statement to make during the halftime show?
I do. I think we have to use our platform at any and all times that we have them. And like you have, again, when I first watched it, Time's unzipping. I don't know what that means. Getting about to be out. But you have the biggest stage. And might I add, you have a very controversial, whether it be a good or bad, president that's in attendance.
They were giving him the finger. Did you see that?
Yeah.
They were giving him the finger. I said, I'm like, Dad, I'm talking about white men. Giving, it's bad when a white man give another white man the finger.
But you know what, man?
They were giving him the finger.
I got my views on that.
I'm just saying they gave the man the finger. I'm like, he's like right there. And they giving him the finger right there while he's I know he saw it because he's like right there and they giving him the finger. And these are people who you would think would
voted for him.
Vote for. No, they were giving him multiple people giving him the finger.
Cause they found out the hard way.
They found out the hard way. That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show.
But you felt it was appropriate to talk about nation.
I did 100%. I felt like it was very appropriate.
Tom, how about you? Is it an appropriate statement to make at the Super Bowl? We got a nation divided.
I don't have a problem if you use your craft to make a statement that enlightens and educates and sometimes point out some of the issues that we're having, because what else should your platform be for? Just to purely entertain? No. So I'm really good with you pointing out issues that need to be brought to the forefront. I think that's a stark difference to being petty and just trying to amp up your diss track. I think that's what your platform should be used for. If you got the platform, use the platform to make a difference.
Yeah.
Use the platform to be impactful. Don't use the platform to be petty.
But can it be both, Dan? Because the way
Tom, you're petty, Tom.
But I'll tell you I'm petty, and I'll tell you go kick Ross for being petty.
But why did he do it?
He did it though.
Because I would not be petty on the biggest stage, though. I'm not going to be petty on the biggest stage. I'm going to be petty in your face.
And he did.
I'm going to tell you, no.
He looked at the camera and said, "Hey, Drake."
No. Well, I'm going to keep that to myself. Because half the stuff, would you even say it to somebody's face?
No.
Exactly. That's my point. Everything I say on camera, everything I say behind somebody's back, I have probably already said it to their face and then something. And here's the thing about me. I'm so bold with it now. I don't only say it, but I said what I said.
But I think it's two things to the petty.
Okay.
It's two things, Todd, to the petty. One is the pettiness is what you could argue is what got him to the stage. Right? If this has been going on for so long, then all of the diss tracks and all the going back and forth you can't deny has probably elevated his career in some way. Right?
That diss song was huge.
So you can't take that out of his craft because that's in part that's number one. What got him here. Number two, I'm sure most people who are watching had no idea if they didn't know who he was. They didn't know who Drake was. Now only the people who
he said his name.
Again, if you don't know who Kendrick Lamar is, if you hadn't seen him before, I'm saying most of the 126 million people probably didn't even understand the Drake references or knew that they had a long-standing beef because they didn't know who this guy was. Who this little black guy up on this stage?
I don't know about that. That was
people in the hip hop community knew.
I think there was well, first of all, can we clear up a myth? There's a huge myth that white people don't listen to rap music.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Okay, but then
I said people in the hip hop community. I didn't say color.
Here's the thing. To me, hip hop has transcended the same way Motown did back in the 60s. I think it has. Because when it comes down to the purchase of those records or those albums or whatever you want to call them nowadays, it's a whole bunch of white teenagers and a whole bunch of white kids that's buying that just like they were in the 60s buying Motown.
Yes, and you can make the argument that hip-hop has been profitable because of white people buying the stuff.
I think hip-hop would be dead if it wasn't for white people.
Because, we pirate stuff. We bootleg stuff.
We bootleg, we pirate, we buy it out the trunk of the car.
Right. So the point I'm making is that for most people who are not in the hip-hop community, who don't know Kendrick Lamar, who are just watching the Super Bowl, they don't really have a full grasp, in my opinion, of the level of beef that he has with Drake.
Okay, I'll give you that. But then all you had to do is go on social media.
Go on Google.
And go on Google or just go on social media because social media was talking about it like crazy as it was going on. That's what about, and
But even before that, they were talking about this because when they announced Kendrick Lamar,
there was an anticipation.
The uproar was like, "Yo, is he going to do it? Is he not?"
There you go.
There you go. I do think to a large point, or even a midpoint, that some people didn't know about Kendrick and the beat, but once they say he was doing it, that was what the headlines were.
Yep.
Is he gonna do it?
Is he gonna do it?
Is he gonna say that infamous line that got him sued? So like out of the 127 million, whatever the number was, probably 125 million knew what was going on.
I don't believe that.
Because my son was beside me, right? He's 16. He was beside me, and I have never heard the song. I just know about the song because of reading things about the song. And so that what was going on in our conversation. We were like, is he gonna do it? And so I'm like, is that the song? And he was like, he's listened to it. He's like, no, I don't think that's the song. And then they sung, he said, yeah, that's the song right there. That's the song. So then I'm like, is he going to make the reference?
Yes.
Is he going to actually say those things on national TV, on the biggest stage or whatever? He left out the word pedophile, but he did say Drake's name.
Yes, and so again, you're proving my point that people who are in the hip-hop community who are aware of Kendrick and Drake's beef were anticipating the moment.
But I ain't in the hip-hop community.
But somebody in your house was, and they informed you of what was going on, so you were more in tune to what was happening. I'm saying for folks who don't know.
You got to be living under a rock to not
Okay.
really know who Drake is. Drake is bigger in name
I ain't
than
talking-
Kendrick Lamar. Well, he's part of that
Yes.
song. So he's a part of that song and he's getting dissed. Drake's name is much big. Drake's name is huge. And so I think you got to be living under a rock
Listen.
or of a certain maybe age. And maybe that may be like the divider is maybe age
My
versus.
mama knew about that. She's 70-something years old.
Oh, see,
So-
Jay making my point, man.
Because again, it wasn't.
So do you
even if
know all the
didn't-
beefs in country music?
No, I don't care nothing about
Okay,
it.
then. That's my point. Do you know all the beefs in classical music?
In classical music?
Between
No,
people?
No,
no.
but
Then
here's
you're
the-
proving my point. See, again, I think for those of us,
Do they have beef in classical music?
we don't know because we ain't in the circle.
I can't imagine them cussing each other out in Italian.
People petty in classical, people petty in jazz, people petty in R&B, people petty in hip hop.
I know some beef in R&B.
This is the point I'm making, right? If again you're not in the circle, somebody just looking at this dude, and I'm not saying again that a whole lot of people did not know. I think a lot of people did know about the beef, and it's probably the reason why he was added to the lineup because it was an anticipation.
I think that's honestly, I think that's what got him to the dance. I mean, because you come out.
I agree.
You come. I think the year before was Rihanna. Then the year before that was Beyonce.
Listen.
Then you had Dr. Dre and Eminem,
Usher.
all of them.
Let me again
And then you go
say.
to Kendrick.
Let me again say, I'm not saying that it wasn't a huge part of what got him there. I said that the pettiness is what got him there. I'm saying on that stage with 126 million people, you ain't gonna tell me 125 million people knew about the beef. I don't believe that.
I think it's hard to quantify the actual number, but what I will say is I think more knew than not.
Okay, that's fair. So
I still think it's high.
Well, let me get back to this then, because we're talking about the flag. That's where we started in the formation. So we all believe that speaking on a social issue, using the platform was something good for him, right?
Absolutely. I
So
thought
let me
that was
ask you
great
this
for
then: if the America is divided, what's the area of our country where there is the biggest divide? What is it? Is it race? Is it money? Is it
It's always
Is it
going to be
staff?
money.
How about that socioeconomics?
It's going to
Money.
always be money.
money more than race?
Absolutely going to be money. Absolutely going to be money.
But-
Because
yeah.
because I know some racist cities, but guess what? They respect your green.
Yeah,
And
'cause
if you bring that green, you going to get a door or an opening and an opportunity versus just your color.
So then,
yeah, because even in that, without getting political, what a lot of Republicans that are up for midterms. Hey, listen, pay attention. Midterms happen this year. They are nervous about people that are being funded by Elon Musk because of the money. It has nothing to do with policies. It's strictly money. That's why I say I'm with Tom. It's always gonna be money.
so do you think the policies that are being enacted now are they more about race and impacting a certain group of people, or do you think it's more about financial?
I think it's money, but we the ones that are always at the bottom.
Say it again. Say it again. It's always money. I think it's always been money. I think race is what they use so that we can't get to the money. I think that when you're hearing about the DEI and you're hearing about the HBCUs not being funded or the threat against the HBCUs not being funded, it's because as what's that congresswoman from Texas?
Jasmine Crockett.
Yes, Lord. She said that thing.
She set it on fire.
She set it on fire. She said that thing. She said, you got this other culture who is not used to the competition because we were taught growing up, you had to be what?
Twice as good.
Twice as good. I ain't even say it. You knew it already. We got to be twice as good.
Sometimes
you got to
that's
be
not
able to
good
run
enough.
circles around them because the leveling field is not going to be level for you. And so, and my mom used to say, always get that sheepskin. Always get that sheepskin because they can't take that away from you. Well, if I take the sheepskin from you, if I don't give you the opportunity to be able to get educated, to get experience so that you can be twice as good as me, then guess what? Now when I play these games and I play this, you're not qualified, then I might be able to at least have some factual stance on that because I took away your ability to be just as qualified or to be twice as good. So I got to get you early so that you won't, because I know if I don't get you early, you already know the playing field is not going to be good for you. So you going to do whatever you got to do because that hustle has always been in our blood. We always been grinders. And so if I can get you before you get the opportunity to grind, then my boy over here got a better chance to go up.
Correct.
So then, is Trump racist then? Because many people say he's racist.
And what's your?
Yeah,
I'm asking you,
I
is
find
it-
no fault in that statement.
But is it race? I'm asking you, if you're saying that it's about money, then is it really about race, or
Two-
is it more
two could
about
be the same at the same
about
time.
financial?
Say it.
I'm just asking the
Oh,
question.
I know you just.
For
radio.
radio.
purposes of radio.
As you always say, for
the
radio.
purposes of radio.
For the purposes of radio. Say it again, Jay.
Two could be true at the same time.
Two can be true at the same time.
And sometimes
if
five.
Come on. But if he had his choice, you better believe money gonna always take the priority.
Absolutely.
Because there gonna be black people in his circles. There gonna be black people that he gonna use or gonna be associated with simply because they got power and money.
Look at
And
Lil Jon when he did his show.
Look at Snoop.
So let's kind of go through it.
Y'all got quiet on me up in here.
Because that's a whole other show.
That's a whole nother
That's a
show.
whole nother show. Look at Snoop.
Because
I'm gonna say it just in case they missed that.
Because the hypocrisy was when cause I remember when he made that initial comment, and when I heard that he was going to do something in inauguration, it was crazy. But
Okay.
it was a girl that got Nelly. She did a show and she blasted Nelly, but that's a whole other thing too.
Okay.
That was
Yeah. All right. So
All
look,
right.
let me go through this. So
Oh Lord.
So at the start of Kendrick's halftime show, he comes out to that old song, "When I Hear Music, It Makes Me Dance," and they were saying that it was puppet strings of music making people dance versus really paying attention to what's going on. Because again, that's the mindset of most people at the Super Bowl party. You ain't really paying attention. You just want to groove to the music. But he's forcing us to really.
But we saw that in politics in 2024.
Yeah.
We saw a bunch of puppeteering.
We did.
Because people weren't listening. Because if they were listening, they would not have voted the way they voted, and they definitely would not have stayed home.
That's another show. That's a whole nother show.
Okay,
and I agree with you.
why everything I'm saying is another show?
Because those things require, a real time to
deep dive.
unpack.
you got to unpack that.
Absolutely. You
dive.
got to unpack that.
Okay, I'm gonna try
All
to
right.
keep it simple.
So then Uncle Samuel Jackson comes out, Uncle Sam, right?
Uncle Sam.
He comes out and
is
he
that
starts
Uncle
off
Tom?
with the rules of the game.
Or is that
Now,
Uncle
there's a
Tom?
difference. I had to explain that to my daughter, right?
Yeah, they explained the
There's a
difference
difference between Uncle Sam and Uncle Tom.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, there's a difference.
I just want to make sure we caught that.
Yeah.
But I
Okay,
think-
all
I
right.
think- But even that creative genius that Kendrick or whoever from his team decided to use Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam. Like this man's name is Samuel, and you
Yes.
use him as Uncle Sam.
Yes.
And then you also go back to when he did that movie with Django.
Yeah.
And he played the house
Negro.
friend. Yeah. And
Uncle Tom.
yeah, that right there in itself. When I paid attention to what he was saying, I was like, yo, this is dope.
It is. And what was Samuel Jackson doing when he first came out? He was kind of explaining the rules of the
he
game.
was.
Yeah, we don't
He
do
was.
this
For white America,
Yeah.
right? Stay in your lane. Don't get out of pocket. You up here. You at the Super Bowl. Don't be acting a fool. Right? That's kind of how this whole started. And then the next scene is shifts to blacks hanging out on the corner. I don't know if y'all saw that. It was a group of black boys. It was a street light image. They're hanging out. And that threatens a lot of people. Anytime you go down the street and see a bunch of black boys, that's automatically threatening to a lot of people, including black people.
I agree to say that's threatening to some black people,
Including black people.
depending on the neighborhood you're in.
Right.
Okay, so that's not that ain't got nothing to do with no race. That has to do with a stereotype that we have perpetuated within our own community. So we got to take a little ownership on that one.
We do.
We got to take some ownership
So
on
let's
that.
talk about that part.
Okay, well,
What part of it? How is it that our own people, we drive down the street, we see 4 or 5 black boys walking down the street, and we automatically become threatened?
I'm going to the other side of the street.
okay, because as a prosecutor that's been prosecuting for close to 30 years, I know that the streets say this big time, that they would rather hit a black person upside the head for their pockets instead of a white person, because the mindset is if I hit a white person, the likelihood of me getting caught is going to be much higher, and there's going to be a greater emphasis on catching me. And then there is a perception that if I hit that white person on top of the head, they coming to court. They're going to prosecute, and they're going to want to see some type of accountability, versus if I hit a black person on top of the head, that person is just like me. And so there's a perception is who going to care that another black person got hurt? And so they have that perception about police, and then they have the perception that even if I get caught, that the crime is not going to really be big because it's just a black person that got hurt. And so If I get caught, nothing gonna happen because most likely they won't even show up. I had one brother not even show up for court, and he was responsible for his mother getting shot. He was the one that was responsible for his mom getting shot by somebody else, and he did not want to come to court because he thought it was snitching.
So the real
Foolishness.
So the real question we got to ask in that time is, why do we believe that a group of black boys walking down the street in any community, we automatically associate that with criminality? That's
because 9 times out of 10,
that's an automatic.
it's automatic.
Yes, it is.
Especially if they got hoods on.
Yes, it is.
I'm talking about. Are you saying black people automatically think that way about? No, I'm saying. Are you saying black people as a race generally automatically think a group of black boys on a corner
up to no
is
good
criminality and they're up to no good?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't go that far.
Especially depending on, because when I'm on King Street and I see a group of black boys, I'm reaching for my side.
Well,
automatically.
First of all, you on King Street. So I'm sorry. King Street, I mean, I ain't trying to be funny, but King Street is one of the hot areas when it comes to violence and gunfights.
But even if I wasn't on King Street, I'd use it for example. That was a poor choice. But even if I was on Mercury, if I was on Aberdeen, like, I'm still, if I see a group.
So if you were on Fox Hill Road,
absolutely,
which is suburbia Hampton, you was on Fox Hill Road and you saw a group of black boys, let's say 16 years old, and they just hanging on the corner, you automatically think that they were up to no good?
I'm gonna be honest, and people might get pissed off with me saying it. I would. My first question is, why are they here? Do they belong here?
Why they can't belong there?
That's the point I'm making. Most people automatically associate a group of black boys to criminality, man.
But I can hear you and I can receive that if you're saying someone that's not of our culture. I'm struggling to receive that if you're saying it's a black person thinking that group of black kids, even in a great neighborhood, are up to no good. And they haven't done anything.
I think some of that perception is real. Now, for all black people, certainly, we're not going to go that far. But I do think that there's a good percentage of black people when they see a group of black boys.
Okay, I know we can't quantify that. But can we say, do you think that is a general perception or is a minor perception?
It's general.
I think it's general.
I would even say it's at least 70%.
So then let me ask y'all this question then. Where have we failed us?
That again is a whole nother show. You keep giving us nuggets for a whole show, man.
I'm editing this. I'm going to go through and like write down.
Because if that is the case, we have failed our community.
But it's not if. We have.
Okay, well then we have failed our community then, period. Because that is sad.
Because I mean, Tom, you think about, I was telling my wife, I think the other night.
Because we all got black boys.
Yeah.
So
and I fear for my black son.
You understand.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's sad. Because we all got black boys, we all got good black boys.
Because of the perception of a group of boys together and what it automatically looks like.
Correct.
So my boy can't hang with y'all boy and just be on the corner because maybe that's on the corner of one of our houses and they just hanging out there just talking. They want to go outside and talk.
If they walk down the street from our house?
If they walk down the street, it's America. They should be, okay, where in the world are we?
Make sure.
If your son and my son...
First of all, your son is like 6'11".
Yes.
Your son is about 6'3". Langston... I don't know how, because his mom and daddy short.
Let me just say, if Langston was old enough to be in the same age group, 3 black boys walking down the street.
I know how your son dressed and my son dressed similarly. And they dress like just regular conservative dudes. Not black dudes, just dudes. So you're telling me them walking down the street, other black people, not white people, but other black people would have some trepidation potentially?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Then we have failed.
Yes.
We have failed.
But when people see me, the first thing people see me, they automatically ask me one question. Hey man, did you play ball? Like when I was like 14, 15, maybe 16, I said, "Why you ask? You a big black. You got big shoulders and big neck. Why is that the first thing when you see me? It's not, hey, did you study engineering? Did you study politics?
But see, I don't get that. And here's the, and it's not because people recognize me before you go there. It's not because people recognize me. But like just this week alone, interacting with strangers or whatever, I just didn't get that vibe whatsoever. I just don't get that. So, and maybe because I got gray hair.
But
I don't know.
But
Maybe
I also
because I got
think-
gray hair.
I know we got to go back. We got about 10 minutes. But what you said, we failed. I was talking to my wife the other night, and I was saying there's an issue because I had a kid a couple of days ago that was spazzing out in the hallway. He was in the 8th grade. I mean, cussing like a grown man.
That's the problem.
But here's the thing. People were not upset that he was cussing.
Why?
They were just trying to calm him down because it was okay for, like, got a call on the radio. Hey, I'm getting cussed out by a student. And their response was, what do you want us to do? Kids are no longer, there is no level of accountability for that kind of stuff. I
But
agree.
that goes back to
But
the show
not only
where he questioned my Christianity, and that is we compromised, and because we compromise, that's what we get.
Swan, bring us back here.
That's what we get when you compromise. That's what you get. That's what you get.
Let me say this.
Say it on.
So some of the Phaeton, as you know, is backed by facts too.
I don't disagree with you.
Let's be honest.
No,
because
I
we
don't
know.
disagree.
So let's say that we know some of the fear is rooted in the fact that in most of the 7 cities that we live in, the majority of violent crime is committed by black teens from 15 to 19 years old.
I don't disagree with that.
So if I'm going to walk down the street or if I'm driving and I see a group of 15 to 19-year-olds, it's logical that some people are going to make that
I would
conclusion.
say 15 to 25.
Okay, so if you put it in the same group, you see 4, 5, 6 black boys in that category. I'm not saying it's right, but if we know that statistically speaking, that age group is creating the most violent crimes in our cities, yes, a lot of people are going to draw conclusions, unfortunately, that most of our boys are violent, even though they may not be.
We have failed. And you're not, and for those who are thinking that he's exaggerating on those statistics, he is absolutely not. For probably the last 8-9 years, the at least 80 to 90% and higher of our homicides were committed by a black person on a black person.
Yeah, so I know people don't like to use the term black on black crime and all that,
Right.
but the facts state that the one who did it is in the age of 15 to 25 and is a black
Typically.
male, right? That's just the reality. Now, to that point, I know we're almost out of time. So one other imagery I want to make reference to about Kendrick Lamar. So his main stage was in the image of a triangle and a square and a circle. And for those who may not know that, that's a PlayStation controller, right? So he's referencing like video games and the system that's designed to keep us dancing and imprisoned. And as a part of his main stage, the triangle, the square, and the circle, you also noticed at one point that there were a group of black men that were out in what looked like a prison yard to support this narrative, right? That it's the
Is he lying?
No, he's not.
Okay.
But again, most people aren't paying attention to the detail that he's dropping
He ain't lying.
at this halftime show when most of the boys that were on in his set were on that prison yard dancing.
And that's why I said he should have absolutely focused on those political points or those social justice issues that he was raising. I think they were great issues he was raising.
Man.
So why muddy the water with petty stuff?
Because Petty got him there.
Because you talk about the controller. There's some other pundits that say the controller could be loosely referenced to Drake because his attachment with Sony Music Group.
Could be too. That. And then, the other piece is out of nowhere, we talked about it earlier, is Serena Williams.
Crip walking.
Now, why is she in there?
And why she crip walking?
She's from Compton,
Yeah.
right?
And people said that she was part of the Crips.
But more importantly, she was in it because she used to date Drake.
Her answers.
So all of the people,
So all of it was a jab.
it was a reference to Drake.
Which I'm like, go sit your Botox shooting up self down somewhere looking like you don't even belong in our race. Yes, I'm going right there. She don't even
Man,
look like
Lisa
she black
Rinna
no more. And I'm like, we don't do stuff like that, but nonetheless, I'm going to go there because I'm Ton and I do that.
Well, you go there.
Yeah,
I ain't
I'm going there. I'm
I
going
ain't,
there.
ain't messing with Serena.
I'm going
just
there.
put my head there.
I'm going there.
You go there.
Because my thing is, you married that boy that you married. Drake done went on with his life. Why you got to be a part of this silliness and this pettiness? He done moved on.
Pettiness
What you gonna
sells.
be? What you gonna be in another video dissing Common? You know, because it was more stuff with that than it was. Why you turning away? Because it was it was more stuff. There was more stuff with Common there.
Think about the stage,
But Common
though.
with Jennifer Hudson. So and she gonna come for you because she from Chicago. So what's all that about?
But think about the stage you're on, Time. Like, listen, I'm crip walking, and that makes people think that I'm going back to my Compton roots.
Why he turned away like
I'm so, if I could take off my sweatshirt, I'm so uncomfortable right now.
I mean, listen, man. All of it was veiled, right? And again, for most people, I go back again. Most people who are not paying attention, and I will admit, myself included, I'm watching it in real time.
Because you ain't feeling Kendrick Lamar.
I didn't know what I was really watching until, again, I had to do some research and have people explain it to me. And then I looked back on it and I said, man, yeah, he has some detail in this. I mean,
But isn't it amazing that I know we're a few days removed from the show, that it's still a controversial topic on social media.
Yes.
Whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on TikTok, people are still going in. But the issue I had, I think a lot of people missed the what he was trying to say and what Uncle Sam talking about. Don't be too ghetto and the things he was saying. We were, me included, we were looking to be entertained. We were looking for the bumps. Like even Charlamagne said he could have did this song, which I don't know what the songs were, but he could have did various songs that were headbangers and that the community knew. But he chose these certain songs. But it was more intentionality on Kendrick's part that he did some popular song, but it's still pointing to y'all still not paying attention to what's happening. The culture and society is saying, like the puppeteer, y'all are still being driven by massa, and y'all are missing it because he didn't have any half-naked women out there. All the halftime shows of the past, you seeing booties and you seeing breasts. This one, you didn't see that.
you didn't.
So like we proved his point for him, and like the people that was, they are still angry. Then you had a person go on Twitter that said that he was angry that they didn't have any white people on the stage. What was up with that?
Of course.
And the response was, y'all got rid of DEI.
Well, listen. So
that's a good response. That's a good response.
Hey,
Because I know this is gonna be another show, but DEI, really, that's white women. You know that ain't black people.
It's
They're
more
the
than white
ones-
women. It's
yeah.
it's handicapped.
But who took advantage of DEI the most? Overwhelmingly.
Michelle said that.
Overwhelmingly.
So
that's white women. So if you're mad at somebody, that's why I say it ain't no race thing.
It's not. But see,
Because
again,
Trump don't like women either.
DEI
No,
got
he does like women. He
got-
just don't respect them.
He got lumped
No,
in
he
the-
don't like them.
DEI got lumped
somebody
in-
hurt him. I don't know who hurt him, but somebody hurt him. But he don't like women. He don't like women. Nah, I don't believe that.
He got lumped. DEI got lumped in the same category as critical race theory. All of a sudden, now these are code words and switching for elevation of black and brown people. That's how that went. But if you do the research, if you study it like you said, you will realize that more DEI recipients are not black people. And that's the crazy part. So if you listening and this guy and he's saying I'm going after DEI, then after he get elected, he start cutting DEI stuff, and you realize he cutting your family more than anybody else's.
Just like he
Man.
using ICE to rope up at least 1,000. But they said their foundation number, bottom low number, is 1,000 a week. But how many Latino and Cuban people voted for him? And now their abuela is going over to Colombia. They gone.
They're gone, man. And so, but I want to. I know we got a little bit more time, but I want to say this too about Kendrick, because there was also an angle about the whole thing about how yes, it was between Drake and him, but it was also more about the record industry and how they control narratives and how they keep stuff going.
Because it's money.
Exactly.
Again, but that we already said that. It's
But
about
again,
money.
but no, but this,
It comes down, everything comes down to the bottom line.
you're right.
Everything comes down to the bottom line.
And the media executives don't care necessarily what they're feeding our minds as long as it makes $1.
They didn't care when back in the 90s they introduced to us the rap music that talked about shooting everybody up from East Coast, West Coast. People were literally dying.
That's NWA, bro.
Yeah, but guess NWA couldn't promote that themselves. It took the music industry to promote that, to grease palms so that record players, DJs and all over the country would play their music and so forth. Because we didn't have social media like that now.
No.
So
But
that had
media
to be
executives
promoted.
control what kind of hip hop is being put out.
Correct. And if they control what kind of hip hop was being put out, then clearly that was a huge item that they were controlling. Not NWA was controlling.
Right.
They were controlling.
And so again, I go back. You asked all along in this show why the pettiness on the stage, because the pettiness made money, and the pettiness got them there, and the pettiness kept the beef going.
One word: foolishness.
We got to run on that note. What can we say to this dude, man? We got to go. Hope y'all enjoyed the show.
Foolishness.
We got to run. Until next time, be blessed to be a blessing to someone else. Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of The Crew Radio Show. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. We're always looking for great sponsors to support the show. If your company would like to reach our highly engaged audience, please drop us a line at thecrewradioshow757@gmail.com. Until next time, thank you for kicking it with the crew.